Well, Kyle.
Yes, Garrett.
What? Jesus. Again?
Why?
Where's the camera right now? I guess this is just our life now.
Yeah, I'm just, give it a minute.
Nice. This is the most unhinged Final Fantasy XIV has ever been.
Absolutely. You're darn tootin'.
I loved it.
It's insane.
It's completely bonkers.
It's good energy, though. It's fun.
I think there was like 17 different people involved in making this portion of the MSQ, and not a single one of them was allowed to talk to each other.
How could this happen?
Oh
They really need to start redacting.
They did
quest
that, right?
accepted
Wasn't there
sounds.
times they'd cut the music? We got to run around with Aaronville.
Yeah.
We got to herd some lizards, not dinosaurs, using their poop.
We herded lizard. Oh.
Because pterosaurs aren't necessarily dinosaurs. They're closely related to lizards.
They are closer related. But
Yeah.
they were like pterodactyls, but I don't think pterodactyls are real dinosaurs anymore.
I think they're fake like the Brontosaurus. But yes,
that was Brachiosaurus.
for the purposes
Is
of...
Brontosaurus fake too?
Brontosaurus is fake. Brachiosaurus is real.
You can make the song stop by going to supportourbromance.com. Make it stop. But seriously, these videos, they're like 100% supported by you. If you're hitting us up on a YouTube membership or you're supporting us on our Patreon over at supportourbromance.com, the biggest thank yous from Kyle and myself. Thank you very much for supporting the weirdness that we make here at Grinding Gear. And if you're not doing it currently, but you're like, I dig this shit, how can I help? Check it out, supportourbromance.com.
SupportOurBromance.com. For the purposes of this conversation, I'm going to say dinosaurs. The dinosaur poop adventure,
Flying dinosaurs.
horny flying dinosaurs, was hilarious.
So horny.
We tortured that poor sheriff of a man. Shaloni, though.
Baloney.
Baloney.
That was the first thing I loved for the wrong reasons, was the pronunciation of this zone.
Oh, all the names here are difficult.
My home, Yasolani, lies past Shaloni.
Oh yeah, definitely. I was doing not too bad with the South American words. I by no means claim to be perfect at them, but I was doing pretty okay for how I thought I was gonna do. But yeah, I think these are like vaguely Native American in descent.
Definitely.
Yeah, and I'm apparently very uneducated in that regard.
Luckily, they're phonetic, but there's so many phonetics back to back to back.
That's like my thought right now is like, I think if you're used to Western English, you're like the thing that I think trips up Western English speakers is just the amount of syllables. We're just not used to this many syllables. And that's what I came up with.
It does cause a divide, though. Like, all these things together add to the insanity that is this particular segment of Dawntrail. All the names are huge. The beats are kind of weird. They're fun. They're wild. It's a real train.
Some of them are like really kiddie. Like, did someone on the writing team have their first child? It's got big post-child Steven Spielberg ruining E.T. energy.
The Rubber Bullets does have a sort of Spielbergian, I'm replacing the walkie-talkies.
It's a bit of that. It's a bit of that. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
But it's also just like, weirdly, like, let it go. Stop bringing up that it's rubber bullets. Like, why are we...
They had to really
What were they
reinforce
really
that.
afraid
They had to
of?
drive that home.
There's been so much darker themes in Final Fantasy XIV that I don't believe for a second it's a ratings concern.
No.
There's plenty of T for teen games that involve guns with live ammunition.
Also, you can choose to bring a gun everywhere with you if you're a machinist.
It goes off the rails a bit, but yeah, it was bizarre.
It feels like there's a scene that may have been missing with Zoraal Ja, Daddy Papa, where he told the people of Shaloni to cut back on the duels. Kind of like when he showed up in the cooking area and was like, hey, everyone, you guys should get along in case there's an outside force. It was kind of a weird message to spend, like, hey, let's all be peaceful in case we have to murder other people. But it worked. It made them be peaceful.
Well, that is a realistic thing when you're bringing together various nations.
Yeah.
That's a true thing. And also, like, before Kona, they're just now starting to have technological advancements to bring them on the same martial power as every other nation that we're aware of in this game.
It's weird. Your rating conversation is very interesting because we've had shot Emmett and he rolls down the stairs. You can shoot people in this game. It's perfectly fine.
There's been tons of guns.
Yeah.
There's an entire sniper boss that people love yelling show hole on.
So I have to assume that it's a lore thing and that there is a scene where Papa showed up and like talked to the Shaloni people and was like, y'all gotta cut the duels. It's not civilized. It's not how I'm going to run my nation. So stop it. And they're like, well, we love dueling. How else are we going to decide our differences? And he's like, I got an idea. Rubber bullets.
My whole thing there, which is like why I just why it kept coming up, probably bothering me more than just rubber bullets as a whole, is like every mention could have just been dropped. Like, just don't even mention it. And just shoot the gun out of his hand.
It shot out of his hand anyway,
just
right?
shoot it out of his hand.
That's the insanity of it.
You make no mention of rubber bullets in the first place. We feel like they're stakes, and then this kid just shoots the gun out of his hand because it's like it's not even the main crux of this entire zone. It's not. I don't want to say that it's unimportant, but it's not the most important part of our adventures in Shaloni. Because as soon as we kind of wrap up the corrupt lawman intro arc, I'll say, to Shaloni, we're off to the base is dropped, the threat is unveiled, the armada is coming out of the Dalaran or purple orb to go kill Dad. It's actually one of my favorite things about this is it's pretty damn well paced. This is another thing where I think I absorbed a little bit of pre-takes, because I saw just on the outer edges of our comments, people being like, the Western Zone, I hated it. It was just I caught more than one complaint about the Western Zone before we got to it.
Interesting.
Which made me feel like it was going to be this massive break pull, much like the Loporrits after Elpis back in Endwalker. Because that was, they were just like, you came back as the Warrior of Light and like, guys, it's a closed time loop. No one wanted to hear about it. Nobody cared. Spend an hour dispensing Loporrits with the same 45-second song
play that
track.
music.
Yeah, I think that is still so much worse than really anything I've experienced in Dawntrail so far in terms of a break pull. You could argue, I think somewhat fairly, that there were no breaks to pull in the first 5 levels of Dawntrail. It's pretty metered, trotting, plotting, just kind of getting about its business. Until you get to the reveal of why Zoraal Ja is such a dick.
Here.
I really love Shaloni.
I do too.
We're questing around with Aaronville. We're having a great time. It's the first time I really felt like we were getting that. I'm afraid to say vacation because I know a lot of people have expectations on that word, but we were having some straight up, wholesome, low stakes adventuring that I feel my Warrior of Light would be enjoying.
Oh yeah, and you know there's someone in the comments right now taking this and running with it, and they're with something we didn't say, because someone down there right now, I feel them typing. It's because Lamont isn't there, and I'm like, that's what you think,
Right?
That's not what I think. I do think it was just a nice change of pace, and one of the changes was that Lamont was not there. The overarching change is that we're no longer working on the right of succession. That is gone. So this, to me, I'm with you. Shaloni feels like, this is the Final Fantasy XIV I missed. I'm off on my adventure with my pre-established character friend, in this case, Aaronville, that I want to know more about, and I'm about to go learn more about him. Now, Shaloni does immediately derail it. We're not learning much about Aaronville, except that he's got a friend who dead names him. We're off to the corrupt lawman arc, and it really kind of derails any exploration of Aaronville's backstory, which later on we find out why. His backstory gets pushed into an elevated position of being under serious threat.
Right. On that note, we meet the Azure Dragoon in the Azure Saloon.
Is Estinian's voice actor, does he have like a clause where he has to be in expansions? Does he have to record X amount of lines or they lose him?
Keep him around.
Well, yeah. Like, maybe not even the English voice actor, maybe the Japanese voice actor. Why does Estinian show up in this expansion? He shows up and nothing of consequence happens.
I think he should have been wearing a cowboy hat. I think these are models that could be dressed up, and I think Estinian should have been wearing a cowboy hat.
He at least was wearing his doing crimes clothes.
Yeah, but he could have easily become like mayor of the place. I think that would have been great if we got there and it's like
sheriff.
It's lots of, yeah, exactly. It's lots of like mystery of who's this mysterious sheriff that's, letting things run amok a little bit. Who's this mysterious sheriff who thinks he has the perfect read on everyone in his life? And it's Estinian.
Or he was just deputized. Like, keep the sheriff like kind of in the dark, because the sheriff just ends up not being that important of a character. He ends up being fine. There's no real reveal with the sheriff other than he's too trusting.
Yeah. And he has a very wholesome American accent, and everyone's a little too American.
Those who have broken the law will be taken into custody.
Everyone's
just
talking
hair.
Super normal.
They're not Western enough.
No, that's the weird thing, right?
They're like a Texas Target employee, not a Texas barbecue owner.
And that's where the rubber bullets come in, right? Like, there's not enough drunkenness. There's not enough throwing people through windows and horse racing and betting going on.
That's my critique. Like, that's what I find this zone, like, it's so weird, because I don't think it's well done, but I had a very good time.
It's a fabulous set piece. It's so much fun.
Yeah, the zone's, the zone in every zone's amazing. This is easily the best looking zones in the history of this MMO. Like, the artists, they came swinging. I know there's been conversations happening over in World of Warcraft where they're like, the expansion's not actually that good, the artist carried.
I've been saying that for years.
I'm like, why aren't we having that conversation in Dawntrail? Because the artist absolutely carried.
Beautiful.
It is an awesome looking expansion. These zones are incredible. They're my favorite. Like, it's unhinged. It's like, what are we doing? We go from rubber bullets to killing dad to back to hanging out with train perverts that are the reflections of the trolley perverts from the first.
Well, and should we be confirming that? That's such a cute fan theory that we would all be enjoying in the background. To confirm it is almost too much. Like, let us have that moment for ourselves and enjoy our fandom in the reflections business, like Matoya and Big Lug. That we don't need that confirmed because we're already on board with this idea.
I wanted any tie-in to what came before, so I was fine with it. I was like, thank you. Like, something that gave nods, thank you for playing Shadowbringers. Because I think that's been really missing in Dawntrail so far.
But we straight up tell him not to drink. Like, hey, don't go
There's
drink.
the option. You don't have to tell him not to drink.
Don't go drinking.
Don't go drinking.
He's like, well, my wife's perfectly alive. For now.
But that was my choice that you also decided to. I was pushing for it because I just wanted to know what he would say.
He participated.
I wanted to know how much the game thought about that. We're being really childish, super kind of kitty glove and safe, and we can't be too violent, but there's whores in the in the saloon.
Yeah, and that's part of its editor's note. I'm here in the wilds, and I can't find any whores. No ladies of the night. So, those were all player characters. Anyway, back to the video. It's what we expect of the zone. How much of our old campy, how much of our old pulp is offensive? It's a fascinating thought experiment, like Indiana Jones, when he's running around the streets and like throws coins to get the beggars off him. Is that offensive? It's a fascinating thought experiment. But what I wanted out of the Wild West is pretty offensive. It is whores and gambling and drunk miners and darn tootins and golds in them hills.
And it is historically accurate. It's just, is that the only thing you want to focus on? Because it's not the only thing that's historically accurate.
Right.
So, and like the same, but because I look at a lot of the South American stuff, I'm like, wow, we're really going to completely avoid anything about foreign invaders and disease and all that kind of stuff. So they avoided the dark parts of like so many other cultures that they're drawing upon.
The disease is an interesting one because they do bring it up with the giants, but that's a safe,
you're right,
fantastical environment to have that discussion rather than somewhere else. You're dealing with fantasy giants and their ability to breed, not the actual peoples that would look like and reference those who were real.
Yeah.
So we end up in that weird, like, overly safe loop that we're talking about.
Yeah. So because I was kind of looking forward to it, even though like I'm not from the West, I'm from the swamp. I'm a Florida boy, but I've spent enough time out west. I love the southwestern culture and the food. I really look forward to visiting because I was someone that was in real life proven wrong. The first time I went to New Mexico, which I have to go to a lot for business, there's Garrett lore backstory. I didn't know what to expect because it's like, oh, it's the desert. There's probably nothing. And in a way, it's kind of true, but it's beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. Like I just got picked up and dropped into Westworld. It looks like that. Southern New Mexico. North New Mexico, there's, it's a little different. More mountainous, less mesa. But it just being surrounded by mesas and white sand and desert thunderstorms. It's beautiful. And the food is probably my favorite cuisine anywhere. So I was like already proven wrong. And now I have a lot of personal love for the American Southwest. And so up until this point, we've spent 5 levels hearing from folks that enjoy our channel that live in these real world equivalents of these South American inspired locales that Dawntrail is pulling from. And they're just in love. We've heard from so many folks that are like, oh my God, they did it right. There's some deep cuts in here. Like I've never really seen a game or felt represented in a game like that. And I think that's so cool. And so I was really looking forward to getting to the southwestern portion because it's an area of my country that I deeply love. And I think it's kind of flat from a story perspective.
From an art perspective, right? That's what we're saying is it's beautiful. It's so much fun to play in. And I grew up in New Mexico. So I grew up in the field trip education center that was going to these national monuments, these pueblos, these bandoliers. Amazing, amazing feats of architecture. And I was really excited to see some of that represented. And I felt like it just kind of lost its teeth. They decided to keep all the local names that the indigenous peoples would have had when we know the Wild West was all about replacing that culture and it just removed any tension there was. The cat people got along with the Cerulean settlers.
It does feel sanitized.
So you just kind of like, you cut off all those teeth. Everyone's just gumming each other out there.
It's weird.
It is weird.
It's just weird. Yeah, which is strange, and it's the only culture that I know anything of from personal experience. So it's the only one I can comment on. I don't need it to be a realistic depiction, but it's so close that it's weird. They rounded the corners off in the way that they did.
It didn't need to be hardcore and hard hitting. It's not Game of Thrones or anything like that, but I couldn't judge the earlier sections and how they represented Mesoamerican culture. But what I can do is compare what I grew up with and the culture I learned about and say, was this a reflection of how they represented earlier cultures too, and still felt a little off.
Yeah.
Which all kind of comes to that particularly weird head when drones are flying into the city and gunning down random people. Why was that earlier bit so stilted when we could still gun down and put a big gaping wound in the middle of Dad and he's coughing up blood?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think ratings are like that, like making a mark on Pale. All right, we've got one impale. That means you could have one less gunfight.
It makes it seem like it's a point system, right? Like you lower
Kind
the
of,
amount
yeah.
of violence here so you can up it later on.
Yeah.
I have no doubt that things can get ridiculous when you have government involvement in rating systems, but I don't think it's that granular.
No, and again, that's why I come back to, like, just don't mention the munitions. Just say they're gonna duel, shoot the gun out of his hand, and no one would even. Maybe one person, because my God, the amount of people who are like, oh, Warrior Light should have done something with Zoraal Ja. And then if you go look at those comments, no one agrees on when the Warrior Light should have intervened. Because some people are like, nah, it was a duel. It would have been, bad play. And other people are like, I would have intervened then. And then other people are like, I would have intervened when he came back from the dead. But then there's other people who are like, I don't know. I think my Warrior Light was shocked, which is actually where I fall in that camp.
Let's get into that.
Okay, so we're done. We're done with the West.
Yeah, the West is
one.
Yeah, the West is one.
It's just so weird, but I had a fun time and I was laughing the whole time. And we're picking up dinosaur poop, which made me think of World of Warcraft. And then it made me think of World of Warcraft again because Dalaran under construction appeared on the horizon.
Exploded. We couldn't fit on that train.
And the train came back somehow?
The train came back.
Does anyone explain it? You're Mr. I click on everyone to get side dialogue.
Yes.
Did anyone mention how it got back?
The bubble expanded in such a way that it cut off some of the passenger train, but the locomotive itself made it back.
So it was on a return trip.
Yes.
Okay.
So when it faded out and it had seemed like it was a long time, to us it seemed like it was still moving through to its location where it
Yes.
got bubbleized.
Yes.
By that point, it would have been turning around to come back, basically accounting for that there's one of these trains,
Okay.
which adds some gravitas to the fact that we're going to blow it up. Then
So let's turn this train around.
Turn that train around.
And talk about Tron arriving. And
Get back on tracks.
Tron arrives to murder Dad. This is great.
Oh, yeah.
I have no notes, which I'm sure will infuriate some people.
I know that I am a silent participant in the story a vast majority of the time. I was not disturbed by the idea that the Warrior of Light didn't jump in. Zoraal Ja shouldn't have gotten up. That would have been a surprise. He immediately attacked Dad. They've established the sacredness, not necessarily like religious rites, but Dad's into 1v1 duels. It's kind of his thing, to such a degree that he paid Estinian a ridiculous sum to 1v1 duel him, and now Estinian's like running free on all the funds he made in that time period. Dad would have wanted this, even though it killed him. I did not see what some saw in this moment of Zoraal Ja broke the deal of a duel, and we should have been able to jump in.
I mean, I saw it as cheating. But I also saw it as the revelation of coming back from the dead, which would have shocked my character. And like it all happens in slow motion too, which makes it feel like it takes forever. But if you played that back at real time, it would be seconds.
He basically just gets up and attacks. He says
Yeah.
a line or two about having two heads, two souls.
Yeah.
Means he gets to augment himself.
Yeah, and that's why I see a lot of the comments as goalpost moving, because immediately, like I mentioned that on the stream, and immediately some folks were like, yeah, but we let him leave. And I'm just like, he's got a armada outside. They're going to bomb the city if he doesn't come back.
The threat is there because the ships are held above the city. Zoraal Ja wants Wuk-Lamat to find him. Zoraal Ja wants Wuk-Lamat to make the discoveries he made for some reason. The fact that people are saying he walked away for no reason is a little spoilery, and it perhaps shows that that reason is never justified. But as someone in the moment right now, I'm looking at him walking away and saying, okay, Zoraal Ja's got more going on. He regrets what he's done and unleashed. He doesn't like what he's become. He's probably had time to deal with it because he's in some sort of time chamber business. I mean, look at that key. As you've put out, as you mentioned in the previous video, Zoraal Ja has reason to turn and walk away and bait Wook Lamont.
It's very much like a comic book villain scenario. I think of Batman dealing with like the Joker or the Riddler, where it's like, you're going to play by my rules or I'm going to start killing civilians.
Exactly. Come find me in my home.
Yes.
So you can understand where I'm coming from.
Yeah. I loved his new drip. Like, he just shows up in Tron gear and he's like, he clearly time has passed. We paused at a point where this has not been absolutely just spelt out, but there's some time shenanigans going on where he's at. They've already talked about the gate leads to another reflection. We've been to the first. You really eloquently pointed out when we were just kind of talking nonchalantly on the last stream that, hey, time moved different on the first. If Zoraal Ja was on another reflection, it could just be that simple, that the time moves slower there than it does for us on the source. So more time passed for him than has passed for us, and that's why he's older. And I'm thinking because of the key looking like a hourglass, and then I'm still thinking there's something going on with Alexander Tech that's a little more like intentful. Like there's a Dragon Ball Z hyperbolic time chamber on the. Do you know what that is?
I do know what
Mister,
that is,
I only
yes.
watch Sailor Moon.
No, he goes in a tiny room and he can like work out for extra long.
Yeah.
Compared to the people outside that are currently dueling Frieza.
It wasn't
Or
Frieza.
was it Cell?
Cell.
It was Cell he
Cell.
did that for?
Yeah, because that was back on Earth. Frieza was on Namek.
The capsule tech things.
No, not capsule tech things.
Oh, it was an alien tech thing?
It was Kami, who's the guardian of Earth. That was a thing that was in his domain.
But it's also reinforced by the idea later when we enter the bubble that all this tech has been placed in like the 2 days we saw pass while working on the train bomb.
Yeah, we're jumping a little bit ahead.
A little bit ahead, but I'm reinforcing your idea that there's time manipulation at work.
There's
here.
no doubt in my mind that there's time manipulation, because they make it a point for all of the characters to be shocked at Zoraal Ja's progression when he shows up, which means he shouldn't. Like, how did he politically maneuver this much this quickly, if no other reason? He looks aged when he shows back up. He's gray. He looks old to me.
I could get behind that.
Okay.
He's got all his augments on too, so,
Yeah.
recovery time and all that.
Yeah. I mean, there's also just something unnatural. Like, who knows how many other times he's died and come back to life at this point, if there's some sort of, like, drain on you because of that.
Who his other spirit is, and whether that's a regretful spirit, if that's a spirit that's actually in charge of things.
Yeah, because that starts to get into what the boss at the end of Vanguard talks about. Like, he's cursing us for making him waste that spirit. And I don't know how deep they're going to go into that. If it's just going to be a little bit of flavor like that final boss, or if there's going to be deep lore. Because they're just sucking up souls willy-nilly.
Yes.
At the end of the Zoraal Ja invasion cutscene.
The thermos.
That's what you call it. I think of it as the ooze canister from Secret of the Ooze Ninja Turtles.
When you murder someone as a robot that's super clearly made of stone, let's not be confused here. That's stone armor. Everyone knows it's stone. Looks like metal, but it's super special stone.
That annoyed me.
Well, it's a very DM thing to make things extra mysterious when really it just looks like people.
But this is a world, an established world where we just have metals and alloys, and we refer to them as such.
And we've had constructs and robots, so why do the people look like people?
The people building a train out of what looks like iron. Like, we know what metal is. The people who live here know what metal is.
And we call them hollows, but they just look like people, so the robots aren't alien enough. This all adds to that sense of what's this unhinged thing that's going on.
Also, I'm gonna hit level 100 off stream because I'm currently running the dungeon over and over and over and over and over again, trying to get the goddamn legs and chest.
Look at that sweet 100, buddy. You got it.
Level 100. Look at us. Couple of max levels.
Because I can just have that armor set. It is that armor set to a T if you're a tank. You get to look like the robot people.
Oh, cool.
Which, again, makes me go, they're not robots, they're people in armor.
Yes. They're empty vessels being piloted by robots on top of them or something along those lines.
Omicrons from previous Final Fantasy XIV, they don't look like people. There's like massive hollow sections of their design that really sell that they're a robot. It's a video game. They can make these people look like whatever they want. They don't have to look like C-3PO, which is a person in a suit, because that's the tech they had when they made Star Wars.
But the thermos is definitely a sucking up of ether and what I'm assuming is memories, and then you can use those memories in battle, which is why Zoraal Ja has a second set of memories that he activates with his little ear amp there and is able to fight at a higher level.
Did he activate it in the fight?
He
This
did.
Beyond bringing himself back from the dead.
Yes.
Okay.
He activated it so he could have 2 souls, 2 heads to battle, which is a weird bit of lore to explore because we already kind of got into that with the Oversoul system in Warlet.
Oh, that's an interesting point.
So we're going to play with that idea, but
Maybe. We don't know. Actually.
Maybe.
This is all assumptions at this point. We don't know how deep they're going to go into this. Because to me, like the major thing I took away was their extra lives. They can self-resurrect because they have the souls of other individuals who they have killed.
and when you get to that boss talking about souls, he sounds like he's using souls as a replacement word for ether, which would make sense in our planular shard system where Lalafels were dwarfs on the first. So
Yeah.
their shard just refers to ether as souls because that's what they're into. And I can see it being as simple as that.
Whatever the case is, it makes them villains because it's a perversion of how the cycle of life, death, and rebirth is supposed to work with Final Fantasy XIV and its concept of the life stream.
So I'm very excited about that lore. The trappings of which it's being delivered are strange and making me question the vessel that we're getting to, but the thermos is a very fascinating evolution of everything we've learned so far, including Berlin.
Hey, before we get away from Zoraal Ja killing Zoraal Ja, Ken Rum is just alive.
Oh yeah, he's just alive.
He's
Yeah,
just chilling.
he's okay.
Not even a nick in his robe.
Nope. Could have been a slash in his robe. Guess it's glamour.
Yeah. On stream, you were like, hey, I went back and checked out some cutscenes, and slashing has led to being knocked out on more than one occasion.
Yes.
My issue is that we saw the exact same character, Zoraal Ja, non-lethally take out a different character, Bakul Jaja, by turning his sword around and hilt punching him.
Which was a nice bit of animation. Yeah, that was nice. That was a good scene.
Yeah. Those are the kind of little details and cutscenes that kind of overall I feel have been missing in Dawntrail so far. And here it is missing in a later cutscene when a previous cutscene kind of addressed non-lethal force. I just thought it was weird. It's
Yeah.
a big hang up for me right now. Also, Kenram just seems so useless.
He does allow us to have the echo that leads to Kryle's discovery that she's from another plane of existence.
Oh, that's a very good point. Okay, hey, that's on me. I didn't realize. I forgot that he was the point of origin for that. All right, I'll give you that, Kenton Rom. Maybe you're not so bad after all, because that is an awesome reveal.
Yes, but another philosophy of storytelling is condense your characters. And that could have been Grandpa that told that story, and would that have been more powerful?
We could have echoed that off of Cryo, because Cryo was there.
We could have echoed it while we were in the room.
And Cryo could have a line of dialogue that says, oh, that's wild. Like, they could just talk about, like, dormant memory. Because Cryo could be like, well, I don't remember that because I was an infant, but I guess it's still rattling around in my brain somewhere.
But that's what I'm saying. It could just be in the room. Like, we could have entered the room, and as a space, much like we've done multiple times, we could have had that memory.
Yeah. And you can write around ways to delay discussing with Cryle until later.
I mean, we shushed Waklamat on her real father there. We could just shush Kryle.
Yeah. Which is another thought I don't want to get into right now, but I think a lot of people are like, hey, you're adopted? How do you feel? I'm like, every adoption thing has been pretty weak so far. Like, real weak. Like, yeah. I'm holding out hope for Cryle.
Kryle's adopted by Grandpa, who doesn't realize it's a baby. And Kryle covers everything you would have questions about really quickly in a bit of optional dialogue where she's like, wait, is my soul thinner because I wasn't on the source? No, Yishtola would have been able to tell me that earlier.
And that was optional dialogue.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah, blink and you miss it. Don't click and you miss it, because that shit goes by. And oh my God, if for some reason you're watching this and you haven't played Dawntrail yet, I'm assuming that's a very small amount of our audience. But I'm not going to chide you. You enjoy media however you want to enjoy it. But so if you haven't gotten through it yet, when Zoraal Ja attacks, do yourself a favor, run around the town and click on all the NPCs. Every single NPC in town has custom dialogue after Zoraal Ja's attack. And I'm assuming once we finish the expansion, and are obviously victorious because there's more game to play, that the ships are going to leave Tulialal and that the NPCs will return to their previously scheduled dialogue.
It's a nice touch.
I'm really digging this expansion from this point on. And I had a couple friends that are like, Garrett, I think you're going to kind of hate this until 96. And you know me, friends. You know me so well. I want to talk about the song.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
We're building the train. We're refurbishing it for post-apocalyptic driving to crash into the shield, break it open so we can get inside.
Yeah, which I think is the first point in the song's favor. You know, the popular gag, everyone's having a laugh about it because we ripped this song while we're literally building a train bomb.
But that's not where my head was. It was our Dragon Age moment where we got together everyone we had possibly met. It is a joyous occasion. It's showing all the peoples working together. It's a stronger version of the coronation. It's what we wanted to happen during Valley Garmanda. We wanted the people that we had gathered to come together and do something. And they did.
Yeah.
We got Fort Jeans in there. We got the bird people. We got the pot sworn. Everyone was showing up to participate in this.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't think that's an invalid read. It wasn't my read. I think it's weird because to me that song is celebration after success. We don't know if this is successful yet. We are literally coming off of the darkest moment in this entire expansion so far, and we're just kind of building a tool. Now, I don't think it's inappropriate because we're building a bomb, because we keep referring to this unknown threat that we're fighting as like basically robots, which might as well be a rubber bullet in terms of like, it's fine, they're not people.
It's the Foot Clan. It's this
putties from
free
Power
excuse
Rangers
to beat them up.
Yeah. So I don't think it's actually that dark.
It's not insensitive to the robots as far as we know them. It's not until we get inside the dungeon and see someone who's not Zoraal Ja even being corrupted by the robot tech.
It's a cure. Yeah, exactly. So I didn't think it was that dark. But to me, it's just like playing the Yub Nub song when we first meet the Ewoks, as opposed to after we defeat the Empire. I'm like, no, we haven't earned this yet. To me, it made more sense during the coronation because the rights over Wuk-Lamat is successful. Let's celebrate, so let's have this joyous song. I thought the song really worked during that first cutscene, even though there were comments after the fact, and there were also people talking in chat at the same time that were like, oh, this song. I think they're operating on future knowledge of not liking it in this cutscene. If they didn't like it in the moment, I guess that's valid. I thought it was perfectly fine for the coronation. Anywho,
we ride the train.
It's a good cutscene. You mentioned off air, and I'm going to make you talk about it, that you wished it was gameplay.
I mean, in a different game, right? I don't want Final Fantasy, use your telescope to look for the Yabby Jaw, point and click shooting.
Because it's not particularly fun.
No. And I don't think Final Fantasy at its best could pull off a turret shooter game. But I like rail shooters, and I think it would be a very campy, fun moment had we have been in a game where we could have that gameplay.
I really liked the cutscene, and so my thoughts in the moment fell out of my head, because I thought it was going to be the dungeon. I thought we were going to be jumping from car to car, battling, making our way up as cars fall off and stuff. I
thought so too.
Love a train roof fight. It's
absolutely
one of my favorite things. Shola and Graha rolling in, I was like, yes! And immediately they have like on-brand things to talk about and explain. They're utilizing those characters. I got my charm. The moment where we yelled down to Aaronville in the cabin, I need you up on the turret, buddy, and hit the uncertainty on his face. Like, because he's next in line now. Kryl has been called up. She is now a combat character. Now it's time to build a murderous Aaronville. And I'm excited about that.
And Alizé popped the train pin out so that we could let go of the burning back half. Like, it had that cuteness.
It was the Scions doing stuff.
It was
which
the adorable quality.
The expansion hasn't had. And I did, I wanted to break from that, but I guess I would have just like imagine if all the Scions showed up now, like how fun it would feel. Like the twins hadn't been just like background dressing for 5 levels.
They had
like,
just shown up.
I think it'd have more impact.
I agree.
Because I just adored this, and it feels like all the Scions have showed up, even though it's really just Graha who's new to the equation at this point in the story. Y'shtola stayed back. That's why I'm ignoring her.
Yeah, she had other stuff to do, and she's caring about the portal directly, which is very much what we established, if not earlier, certainly in the patch content.
Yes, 100%. By the way.
And like, there's nothing villainously wrong with this, but these are the things your brain starts to notice that cause you to go, wait, hold up now, and
why?
have questions. But sometimes they do cover themselves, like the drones were firing the primary gun, but the shield was holding up. So they switched to ballistics to take out the shield, and they could start firing again. They're making a big deal about the weapons being lightning aspected, which is fascinating because we have a calamity of lightning, we have a dimension of lightning, we have all this stuff that we could really play with when it comes to lightning. Why is that such an important detail right now?
And we've had a previous calamity that was lightning aspected that's like part of the history of the lore of Final Fantasy XIV, and we're heading towards it again. Now, granted, we don't have enough elements to go around. We have more reflections than we have elements.
Right.
So there's bound to be a repeat.
Emmett's PowerPoint didn't cover so much that we know every single reflections aspect, but these are fascinating lore questions that you don't exactly trust Dawntrail to answer right now. Whereas I trusted Whirlit to explore Oversoul.
I wonder if that's going to be a thing. Please bring back Gaius.
Yeah, if Gaia shows up, that'd be sick.
Or Gaius,
We need
please.
an expert on Oversoul. Call him in.
By the way, we saw the lady from the trailer. And
Oh, yeah,
also
yeah.
from the we saw this lady.
Yeah, she was ghosting out there. She was being kind of regretful about it.
Yeah, flower lady. Does she have flowers in her hair?
They're like metal.
Metal flower. Metal
flowers.
flower lady. Metal
Yeah.
flower lady. We saw her in the... We completely didn't mention her because honestly there's not much to talk about. She shows up, looks at us, and disappears.
She establishes her existence.
I'm a big fan of that, though, by the way. I love
Oh, yeah, it's
all
foreshadowing.
the way back in Rome Reborn, that's when I perked up like the first real time. I was like, why is there some distance? And they disappear.
There's someone there.
Yeah. Why?
Good.
But now, obviously, she seems important. She's literally top dead center of the friggin' key art. This is a delightful dungeon.
You feeling pretty good about all those mechanics? There's a lot of them.
Yes. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I got a glowing compliment from my healer in my most recent run.
Ooh,
yeah,
nice.
Yeah, it's just, I believe they wrote, "Thank you very much for using cooldowns." Yeah, the damage output is ridiculous.
I think it's bold to have an expansion this late in the game have such difficulty on its dungeons. Like, these are MSQ dungeons. You must do them.
Yeah. Now, granted, it's only really hard if you're multi-pulling. Doing one pull at a time, it's manageable.
I just mean the bosses, particularly the Emerald Weapon reskin.
I don't think the bosses are too bad.
There's a lot on that floor there. Once you understand the G laser, you're fine. That one I'm not concerned about. And then Snake Guy, he's not so bad. That was a bit of a surprise the first go, but not so bad. But that Emerald Weapon reskin robot boss is actually insane.
Not a lot of lore revelations in there other than a soul can be consumed to completely change your form. Which, does that mean they ran over to Stormblood land and killed an Anantan snake lady and then came back to us to fight us?
Yeah, I don't know. We also don't see any male snake ladies.
Oh, yeah, they're all female.
But we have salamanders out in the fields of the Wild West, which is like a salamander is kind of a male snake equivalent of sorts.
So are they also killing wildlife and sucking up their souls?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where he got that. I don't know where he got snake person aspects, or why Zoraal Ja didn't change, or is Zoraal Ja already merged and changed?
So did Zoraal Ja just absorb another martially prowessed Amalja?
I do not know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's more questions than answers.
Yeah.
In the dungeon.
Oh, and then we exit to even more questions because in a short amount of time, there's been a giant lightning spire built along with power lines throughout it.
It's not a short amount of time.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they've created
that's what
like
you're saying.
they've
I'm
created
saying.
a zone of the whatever world they're from, and they're dealing with time bullshit.
Yep. And there's some sort of infection spread.
Oh my god, the lightning is a Back to the Future reference. That's why it's lightning, because this is all time magics.
Time lightning.
This is time magics.
I mean, the Lalafels had to escape from something. Something had to be growing, consuming, spreading. Otherwise, they wouldn't have dropped a baby off.
Yes.
So this thing that is corrupting the land and evolving it from stone into technology is active. And with the help of time diluting magics, you have nanomachines, son.
Please not nanomachines. Please just something to generate the 1.21 gigawatts required to make time travel possible.
Evil lightning, whatever it is.
Time lightning.
But
But now I have all these additional questions like, why didn't they just go with Cry L instead of going back? They must be important to the resistance in some way.
exactly, they're needed on their world.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Like, there's a lot of things you can infer from that. Yeah, I really don't know. Getting the Heritage found, it's really up there for me. That zone, that reveal is, it's up there with Amarat. Like that is like an aesthetic I really respond to. You and I talked on stream that we love the Western trope of a ghost town.
Yes, the juxtaposition.
What a cool way to do a ghost town. But you look at those damn buildings, dude. There's like mold on them and they're dilapidated.
We were just in the functioning West Town. Why would we have Ghost Town this close to what was just a train depot?
And we've been told by Aaronville, the local boy, that this is where my mom lives, and it's a
Perfectly fine
bustling
place.
village.
Yep,
Let's
people
go
like it there.
visit.
People love living there.
They love being alive there and not rapidly aging. No, she's not going to be dead, but she's going to be a lot older than he expects her to be.
Oh, that'd be a fine reveal.
It's going to be Grandma Aaronville instead of Mama Aaronville.
Interesting.
Yeah. We are never going to hear this song again.
No.
And they're going to put Wook in lease
Least
jail.
jail. Yeah.
And it really sucks because I like Wook
Yeah, the Aaronville got elevated because of fan service.
Yeah.
Because of fans and
But they're
whatnot.
what if people hate these characters so much? They're hot too. So if you're into waifus, these should be ringing your bells.
Fuzzy abs.
Like, yeah, I don't get it. Yeah, Wook is like cut like
Yeah.
a freaking Greek goddess. And, you know, at least it's side boob. Who doesn't like side boob?
Everyone loves side
Middle side boob at that.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Both side boobs.
Yeah, I love these characters. They're great.